So that's James's dinner for today. It's spaghetti squash with a creamy rosé sauce in. This got top of the stack. It's a great course against Magnum P.I. the 4th season. It looks like James is going to talk about rock and roll, and I'm going to try to salvage this painting that somebody garbaged. I didn't paint this, but we'll see what I do with it. Yeah, so I'm going to turn it into a pinball machine, because to me that's what it looks like. So I'm going to put a pinball there, and I'm going to put another line to match this one for the glass here, and then this will be the side of the pinball machine, and little springy thing to shoot the ball. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. I'm really not sure how this is going to work out, but it doesn't really matter, because I'm just trying to do some lessons from that anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. But because I don't know who painted this, I don't know what paint they used, so I think I'm going to go out and buy some oil paint. But anyway,
I don't know why people would chuck stuff in the garbage.
I don't know either. Usually what I do is I just take the canvas off and turn it around, and then put some gesso on the other side, and then just paint on the other side. But since I'm just doing these things, and I don't really care that much.
Painter,
yeah.
Well, someone garbaged it, so they didn't care. Or
and no, they
maybe
didn't.
it got left someplace where someone skipped on the rent. I wouldn't want to say that.
So anyway, we'll see what happens with that. It doesn't really matter. I'm just I've already watched the first 2 DVDs, and now really the lessons, there's really only lessons starting on the second DVD. The first one, there's a whole lot of really
materials
boring,
and
stuff like that.
You know most of that stuff already.
Well, it's always good to you end up learning new things when you don't expect to a lot of the time.
Well,
so
I really believe
it's good
in
to
review.
keep an open mind and keep going through things. So I can't remember, there was something in here. See, I guess I should have been taking notes. But there was something in here that I was like, oh, that's a good idea. I never really thought about that or whatever. Oh, I think it was it was transferring. You know how you trace with tracing paper, like I did in here. I just drew it on because I don't care. I don't care really how this turns out. But you put on tracing paper with your pencil, your drawing, and then you put that onto your watercolor paper, and you rub the drawing off onto the watercolor paper when you're doing with watercolor, right? Well, in this, like, he's calling this the Complete Painter, but really this is not. This is the Complete Oil Painter. He is an oil painter, and like he says, if you're doing it with acrylic, then add this or whatever. But the different mediums, they work differently. Like he says, whether you're doing this or that or whatever, you can use this. Not really. It'd probably be better to just go ahead and use oil paints for this, honestly, because that's what he's doing. And you won't get the same results doing so with something else. So like with acrylic paint, it dries really fast, and he says, okay, well, you can add well, you could just add water, honestly. You could just, you just keep spraying it down, but it's tough because it wants to dry faster. So, but he says you can add an agent to retard the drying process with acrylic. But honestly, like, you couldn't use this for, you could use it for acrylic if you, in a pinch, if you really were desperate to. but not for anything else. Like,
It's a whole different
this
thing.
is- yeah.
It's almost as bad as equating watercolor with one of these, like oil painting or acrylic. You have to work in a very different way.
Yes. So I remember when I was first learning how to do art, I started with oil pastels, and I really liked that. And,
I like the idea of that, you know.
Yeah. And then I tried some other things that I didn't like. My dad wanted me to get into watercolor painting, which would have been sensible, because honestly, that's where, now that I have went through the whole gamut of things, I realized, yeah, that's where you should start, is watercolor. It's not expensive and it's really challenging. So that's really where you should start. Oil painting, I mean, you're breathing in some dangerous stuff.
Yeah, it comes highly unrecommended from my point of view.
And with the acrylics even, like, I could show you some of my paints with a great big X on them. Carcinogenic, you know. So there's, and he's saying this, well, you know, I've been painting for this many years. I had my blood tested for heavy metals and stuff, and I'm okay, you know, and whatever.
For
but
the time being,
cancer's
nothing to monkey around with. I know.
Anyway,
From personal experience.
Yeah, whatever. I don't think that people should start out with oil painting, and this is basically what he's having people do, because he's showing people oil paint. And anyway, whatever. I disagree with that. I disagree with starting out with oil. And I went from oil pastels, which I liked, to some other things, and then I didn't like them. And I went to oil paint, and I was like, oh, this is wonderful, because there's so many things you can do with oil paint that you can't do with the others. It's honestly way easier to work with oil paint than, but there are some serious drawbacks, right? So I don't think you should start with the thing that's easiest to work with. You should start with the things that are more challenging, maybe, right? And then once you already know how to do certain things, like you can learn how to draw a sphere and the whatever, and the shadows and everything with something else, and then you already know how things look, because it basically, the first thing that you have to learn about doing art is how to see things, because you realize once you start doing art, you really you haven't been seeing things properly. You're drawing and you're like, you're having this eye-hand coordination thing you're having to deal with, but it's a brain thing too, and you're like, okay, yeah, people don't look like that, and you know it, and you're looking at somebody and go, okay, now I'm seeing you for the first time, or really, right? And trying to, even when you're actually looking, it takes a while for you to actually see what you're wanting, what you're trying to see, and trying to then make it look like that on a different surface with a different medium and whatever. So anyway, we'll see how this goes. I'm not really worried at all. So now I will say that so far watching this, like I've said, I've just went through the first two. He smooshes a bunch of assignments together in some episodes in your or lessons or whatever in disc 2, and you're like, okay, this is going to take me a long time to do these now. Why didn't you throw some in over here? You know, because honestly, whatever. I really don't like this technique of teaching people, because it's too boring for most people to actually want to. You can teach something about materials, something about health, something about whatever in every episode, and have people actually working on projects all the way along, and then they're not bored. So
yeah, you got a point there.
Yeah. Anyway, but he goes through a lot of stuff, a lot of information. So
This is what they try to do in language introduction. You know, like if you read a grammar text, not a text, but a grammar reference thing, it is boring.
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Well, what they try to do with a language instruction text is get you kind of communicating right from the start. You know, like just like with the little simple elements you got, like Katze, or whatever in German. And you start speaking right away. There's an art to that, of making something interesting while you're teaching a learner. It's tough.
So now that I've went through a couple of the discs, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do some artwork. So that's what I'd recommend with all of these sort of things. You watch through the stuff first, and then maybe even watch it a second time and then do it, but watch through it and then do it.
That's a good idea.
Don't work into it right away and go, oh, okay, I see he's, like in the first episode, he gets you to do a project, he's showing you how to mix your own paints, which is kind of cool. So, and he explains the different, with different painting, with different mediums, the different kinds of bases and whatever, like that they use for the pigments, and I can't remember what they are, and honestly I don't really care because I'm never going to mix my own paints, or I don't think I ever will. There's
Some people are really into that.
Perfectly good paints out there that other people have mixed. I really don't see a point, but if ever I decide I want to mix some yolk and dirt and something else, I can't remember what he put in there, that's just great. Maybe I could do that, but I don't care to. So, Magnum P.I, the 4th season.
I'm still enjoying listening to that in the background
while
I'm dozing or doing
German
crossword puzzles. It's getting really bad.
Well, they finally, remember James and I were talking about, well, I don't know if we mentioned the name, but you probably figured it out when we talked about Sybil Shepherd and Bruce Willis. We were talking about moonlighting and how they had a really good thing going because
well, they're both good actors.
They're both good actors, and they're both attractive in different ways, right? Like he's charming and whatever,
not classic looks.
No, but that charm gets him a long way, and I mean Sybil Shepherd, right? Wow. So they had a good thing going, and plus they had that the whole time you're watching it, will they get together, won't they, or whatever, but you think probably not, because they really hate each other, but
are really attracted to each other.
So
it's quite the chemistry.
It's a good fit, right? And with this, it starts out they hate each other, and so you think, all right, this is gonna work, because they have this same sort of Bruce Willis, Sybil Shepherd dynamic. I mean, they don't have the quality of acting, but whatever. You know, this...
Neither of them the looks or the charm.
No, but, well, yeah. But anyway...
or the acting ability, but...
She can do accents well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I get the impression she's English, but...
Well, I think she is too, but she can do some other accents. So.
Like she works undercover with other accents?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, anyway... But yeah, then it starts getting too much. I think it was the 2nd season. She's already starting to, oh, I can see he's actually a good guy and whatever. You know, she's still thinking he's kind of lazy or whatever. Yeah. But it didn't, right away it started falling apart that way.
Yeah.
Because they can never get together. They can never get together. It ruins the show. So... what happens the end of season 4? Yeah.
They get married?
They get together, not married yet. I'm just starting season 5 now, and I'm like,
I thought I heard rumblings to that effect in the background. What are they doing? I almost cried aloud, you know? Like,
it's the kiss of death. Why would anybody write that in? Do they want the show to die? Like,
I think sometimes they have screenings
Yeah.
for test audiences or whatever they call it. And it's amazing how many times they've changed bad endings to good endings with movies.
Yeah.
That's stupid. I don't know. When I was a kid, the biggest movie of all time, 1939, put out. They re-released it when I was in my teen years, maybe 1969. I was about 15. Gone with the Wind. Does it have a good ending or a bad ending? I don't know if you've seen it.
No, it's
It's
not.
got a horrible ending.
Yeah.
Okay, and then what was it surpassed by eventually? Because I think it lasted until roughly the year 2000. It starred Leonardo DiCaprio, and it's called The Titanic.
Yeah.
I have to tell you how that ends.
Yeah.
People, I'm sure with the accent sort of thing that they had, man, I can't stand that ending. You can't change the ending. You really can't change the ending with Gone with the Wind, because there's a novel there, and it's from the southern point of
But
view.
you'd
The
love
war,
to-
the
you'd
Civil
love to
War,
hate
the
that
South
ending.
loses. Exactly right.
Yeah.
And that's why people go back
That's
to
why
see
people
it again.
go back. 'Cause they're like, oh,
I
this
want the
time
ending
maybe
to
the
change.
ending will be
I
different.
want it to change.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it could
It's
very
so
well be.
stupid how they've got these test audiences and they don't read through the reactions. They
Yep.
change bad endings.
Mhm.
I don't know. So I think that might have been what was. I wish they'd get together.
No,
but
you
Not
don't.
really. Not really.
So anyway, they're together, and I don't believe it. They're
Yeah.
every episode
Yeah.
I'm watching it. I'm like, these two should not be together.
No.
This is terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway, I liked her with the doctor guide, the Doctors Without Borders guide. That worked. And I think they should have played with the MI6 thing with
Connection.
her longer.
Yeah.
And kept her with the doctor for longer. That would have, they could have done that for several seasons and played around with that. But I don't know what they're thinking. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Well, no one ever thought TV folks were really that sharp. So.
Yeah. So of the different cookies and cream cake cup, and James yesterday he had a double chocolate, and this he can have the leftover of my birthday cake cup icing, because normally I found that I can eat the birthday cake stuff and it doesn't give me a headache.
But the icing's different.
No, I'm sure the icing's fine, but I don't need the extra fat and stuff. So what I do,
There's a little there left there for me.
so what I do is I ate more today than I would have, but usually what I do is I give it to Albus because he loves it. But today, as soon as I took my first bite, he's getting too used to getting that stuff.
Mhm.
He went, bah, bah, bah. He was barking at me for the thing, so I couldn't even enjoy the thing. Because he's barking at me to give him. He wants the whole thing now.
He was
doesn't-
really feeling bad.
So I told him, bad dogs don't get good treats. So he didn't get the icing today, and we'll see. See
I
if
was
he's
really
going to be better
feeling
the
it.
next time.
When I turned up today, he hit the dog chow food and trying to make me feel guilty. I'm
Yeah.
starving so
So
badly.
starving, I have to eat dog food.
dog
Yeah. So which one do you like of the 3 flavors that
I
we've
like
been
the
given
blue.
so far? I
I'm
know,
telling
it's so pretty.
Look,
And
yeah.
yeah. So
And I think I like there was the cookie. I think I like the cookie
the
one
cookie
better
one
than
more
the
than
double
double.
chocolate.
Oh,
Yeah, there you go.
well, that's too bad. But
I'm a big cookie monster from way back. So.
I suppose. But anyway, so at first when we tried the cake in a cup, and everybody's reaction in the lineup at the food truck was basically the same. What is it? Cake in a cup? And we just kind of thought it was a strange sort of sales thing. Who would do that? And then, I've been noticing people eating the slushy things with a spoon. And I noticed, well, you have like cup holders in your van, and we go out hiking a lot, and that's a great thing to have in the cup holder in the car. And well, if you're going on a car trip, a road trip. So I was thinking, this is actually a pretty smart idea. You could have them not only in vending machines, like this is better tasting than a ice cream sandwich.
Way
And
better.
yeah, not even close. And so you could have the things in the vending machines that keep the things cool, like ice cream sandwiches or whatever. You can have that there, or you can have them in at every gas station convenience store out there, and people could pick that up and they'd have cake in their cup holders instead of slushy. Why not?
Way better. Anyway,
Way
since
better.
1993, so it's been over 30 years. I'd never heard about them. Red Cliff Bakery. I'm going from Medicine Hat. And
Well,
I
their
believe it
icing is delicious.
Yep. Medicine Hat, Alberta. Red
Yeah.
Cliff Bakery. Huh? Who knows? They might be on their way to bigger and better things. Well, not better. I don't know if you could improve on it,
Yeah.
but bigger things. Folks, if you're down there south of the border, down not Mexico way, well, maybe Mexico way too, but
I don't know how-
America way.
They might become really big and sell these cake in cups all over
What
the
a
place.
big demand.
Yeah,
Medicine Hat's not that far north of the border.
yep.
We're putting a little plug in there. We'll do
Uh-huh.
that every so occasionally.
We
We
will.
don't have any financial interest
No,
in the
we're giving
company.
this for free from the food truck.
No
So
financial interest.
I don't know if you can even buy it. Maybe the food truck got it because they decided, oh, we can't sell this stuff. I don't know.
I'd hate to think that.
Yeah, because it's good.
Not
but-
necessarily good for your health.
No, no.
Make sure if you're eating those.
You want to look at that fat
semi-regular, you
content
get
on the
more
back
than
of that label.
semi-regular exercise.
Yes, that's a good treat to eat after a hike.
Yeah.
After a good long hike in the mountains. So, what about rock and roll,
Rock
James?
and roll. I've got,
Yeah.
what, 2.5 minutes?
Oh, I don't know. You have lots of time.
Oh, okay.
6 minutes and, well, 7 minutes
Well,
basically.
I'm going to be devoting maybe a few days to this. So
Okay, good.
this is the 5th edition of a university textbook, Rock and Roll, put together by Joe, I don't know how to pronounce that name, Stussy? It looks German actually, Stussy. Anyway, and then Scott Lipscomb. Now, Lipscomb I think of as a southern type of name. But weirdly enough, Scott Lipscomb is listed here as coming from, or teaching at Northwestern University. I believe that's in Chicago or in the neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. Maybe in Evanston, Illinois. And Joe Stussy is listed as coming from Texas State University, San Marcos. So, St. Mark in Spanish. And yeah, so this is the 5th edition. I was kind of surprised. I didn't notice that 5th edition when I started going through it. And so the 1st edition put out in 1990. This 6th edition is almost 20 years old. 2006. So the thing that fascinated me before I noticed it was 5th edition, I thought, oh, they're going to have to improve this in further editions. Because the way textbooks are, they've got to come out with new editions. And I guess with rock and roll, it kind of, there's new stuff. Although a lot of it sounds pretty old hat, I suppose, to most people. But here they've come out with one 1990, 94, 99, 2003. And then they only waited 3 years to get the one out in 2006. I don't know if they thought things were really changing over that 3-year period. Generally, the gap between different editions was 4 or 5 years. Also 3 years. Anyway, I'm going through it, and I'm the kind of person who reads indexes. Sometimes even before I read a book. Sometimes after. There's a review. Sometimes both. Sometimes multiple times. So I'm going along and saying, who isn't in here? There just seem to be gaps. The one that struck me right away is there any Ivan Morrison, otherwise known as Van Morrison? No, at least not listed in the index. I haven't noticed in the text No Van Morrison. And this is a history of rock and roll. There's what, over 400 pages here? Wow, over 500 pages. Not one mention even of Van Morrison. Shame on you.
You might
No.
want to save a little bit for Elvis. He's been so good right now.
Okay. Anyway, there was a little disclaimer in one of the introductions or something like that, that they don't give. This doesn't purport to be anything like a complete coverage of rock and roll. If you've got the history of rock and roll, you'd better have something approximating complete coverage. I am sorry. And if you can't put one mention, that's not a whole page, one mention of Van Morrison in a 500 page history of rock and roll, you are out to lunch, okay? Out to lunch. Out to brunch, shall we say. It's even worse. Okay, no Tom Petty. What? Tom Petty's rolling over in his grave. And he has every right to. No Tom Petty. Not one mention of Tom Petty. Eh? Now, who all gets coverage in here? Okay. No mention of Tom Petty. Not one mention. Not even his name. Who gets coverage in here? Well, there's a whole bunch on rap and hip hop. I'm not even sure if that's rock and roll.
Yeah, I don't think that.
So anyway, starts at page 406, goes all the way to 426. So that's 20 pages. Dance music, disco. I'm not even sure disco is rock and roll.
Rock and roll, no.
So, well, it's only like 3 pages on disco, but Motown keeps dancing. Other music for dancing, the Latin invasion. There's 4 pages in the Latin invasion. There's a significant part on, what was her name? Gloria Estefan?
Okay.
Do you even remember?
Yeah, of course.
So that's more than 1 page. Are we agreed? Gloria Estefan. I'm not even sure if it's rock and roll. Now understand, there's not even one line of a page
I don't
for
know.
Tom
I think
Petty
of her as being
or
pop.
for Van Morrison. Yeah,
Was she pop
exactly right.
music? I don't know.
And then there's a horrible
If pop
story
is
about
rock.
Selena who's wiped out. Was it a fan who wiped her out or something like that? No, it was someone who stole some money from her. Maybe a former manager or something like that. Salvador, which means savior. It was anything but. But again, I don't think Selena belongs there. Ricky Martin, he doesn't belong in here. But he gets maybe the equivalent of, well, more than half a page. No mention of Van Morrison or Tom Petty. Now, Van Morrison, like he was, to a large extent, just a one-hit wonder when it comes to singles. Brown Eyed Girl, way back in 1967. But even when you were a kid, when you were about 14 years old. No, how old? 89. 14 years old. You can remember Tom Petty running down a dream,
anyway?
right?
Like, what is that
Well,
about?
it's like Ricky Martin, Selena, Gloria Estefan was one of the first. I mean, there's more.
No, I just don't understand that, because there were, like with La Bamba, that was popular way back when. So what?
Richie Valens, exactly right.
I don't
There was
know.
Santana.